How's everybody doing today? I actually remember to press record immediately. Jeff, you're on. I know you're proud of me, buddy. Did not miss the first 5 minutes. Thanks, man. Thanks for the love. So we got Clem on. Rachel Johnson, thanks for subscribing. Appreciate that. Looking forward to this discussion tonight. Feeling good tonight. Wednesday, March 9th. Man, the year's flying by. It's kind of crazy. Anybody interested in calling in before we get started? I don't want to waste a lot of time because it's all about productivity, right? My wife, Nasash, is on. Thank you. Can't remember if I said that already. Tonight, man, I'm fired up. Jeff's calling in. Look at that.
Good work.
What's up, man?
Hey, can you hear me?
Good to see you. I sure can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Fantastic.
I'm always surprised when tech works.
All the organization. You look like we got the same background here. You got all the bins.
Oh, yeah.
I got the bins. It's my wife's doing. That's fantastic.
I got the whiteboards too, though. I got the whiteboards.
You do? Yeah, I got the whiteboards.
Additional words there.
Right here, look at this. Right there, 2 whiteboards.
There you go. You got it covered.
It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop, man. Miss Ash isn't calling in today. She wanted to check in and say hi. She is not feeling well. This pregnancy is starting to kind of kick her butt a little bit.
Yeah, how many weeks out are you? 7?
6.
6.
Yeah, it's actually 6. Well, I think it's 6 on Thursday. Oh, Clem says yours aren't white, Nick. All right, thanks, Clem. Yeah, thanks for the technicality there, buddy. You going to call in? I know your schedule was a little bit tight tonight because Clem just got back from South Carolina. So we had a really good recording today, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, week 4 of March. So
I haven't
it's good to
listened
see
to
you,
the first
man.
one yet.
You haven't? Oh man, Natch is offended. I'm sure she is.
Well, I was toying with listening to all of them at once, but I got to have a long enough ride where I can listen. You guys go a long time.
I'm trying to get them down, man. I am. I really am. I mean, you can listen to them all simultaneously. Maybe knock them all out.
Yeah.
Just suck it all up at once. That'd be good.
There we go.
Yeah, man. So you're calling from Kansas. What time is it in Kansas right now?
We're 8 o'clock. So
okay.
we're an hour off.
Behind.
And I just discovered that daylight savings is going to hit us. So all of our European friends are going to be an additional hour away from us.
Oh, wow. I wonder if we have any European friends on. If anybody from Europe's on.
See, it's too late for that.
Hello.
Because it's 6 to 8 hours. That's a long time.
Could have some night owls. I tried to get Tor Refslin on a couple times because I interviewed him, I think, on episode, what was it, 14? And yeah, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning over there, so that's probably not going to work out.
Yeah. Although there's a few night owls. Maven UK was on last week.
Okay, yeah, that's right. That's right.
I pay attention to this stuff.
You too, man. You're a detailed guy. That's fantastic. Well, man, I had a crazy, I'm not sure if you saw on the Facebook group, Jeff, I got my brain scan today.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. I mean, it was just an interesting project, I guess. Lady gave a presentation. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if she's on or not. Cynthia, she gave a presentation about gamifying your brain to kind of correct your behaviors.
Oh, really?
So basically, I was hooked up with all kinds of electrodes, and she just had me close my eyes for, 5 minutes of pop, and then open my eyes for another 5 minutes. She took all these readings, and she's going to give me a full report probably any minute. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes down. And then I guess after that, the next step would be to start going into these different sessions. And I think they play music, and they ask questions or something to stimulate different parts of the brain. And as they ask questions, if you're responding in, I don't want to say like a negative way, but just a way that's not healthy, then the music volume drops according to how your readings come. And then if you're having healthy, mindfulness and all that other stuff, then the volume music goes up. So I guess if you go to enough of these sessions, you could train your brain to start reacting to different situations better. So I was kind of excited about it.
That's kind of cool.
But yeah, so I'm going to get the full report on everything going on up here, man. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that.
We may not want to know.
I know. I may not want to know. It could be scary. Well, it looks like we got a couple open seats and nobody else is calling in, man. So the first time calling in, Jeff, I'm sure this is what you wanted to see, just you and I up here, man. I want to get a couple more little watch team backup.
Clem will come in when
Yeah, Clem will come in.
When he sees me floundering.
No, you're good, man. So you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jeff Page. I'm a Hectic Dad everywhere else on the internet. I run a couple of different sites, Hectic Dad, Hectic Kitchen. Hectic Tech is out there, but it's not very active. And Hectic Fitness will be coming online later this year.
Oh, wow.
As soon as a couple of my kids get out of school so that they can do the videos that I need for that stuff. Live in Kansas. I'm married to a doctor. We have 8 kids, 1 grandson who lives with us with his mom.
He said 8, guys. He said 8. Yeah. You guys didn't mishear him.
They range in age from 13 up to 26. And so we've got several college graduates. I've got 3 in college right now. And 1 will graduate in December, and another one will graduate high school the following May, and he'll start college. So we'll continue to have 3 in college for a while.
Wow, man. And looks like Clem's calling in. Deb, I've accepted Deb, and I've accepted Clem. See who comes on. Blab's kind of funny sometimes about the delay. So I just see the circles, fluctuating in and out now, waiting to connect, I guess. But
well, and on the 2 websites, Hectic Dad is mostly parenting stuff, and it was my proof of concept. Mm-hmm. It was, can I actually create a blog? What is WordPress? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of grown. And then Hectic Kitchen is meal planning and helping. It started out actually to help the kids because they kept saying, I don't know how to make this. I don't know how to boil water. I don't know how to make an egg. And it's kind of grown from there. Then it kind of went on hiatus and it's come back kind of strong. Starting again in February.
In February. Your volume's going in and out a little bit, Jeff. I'm getting good at audio, and then all of a sudden it kind of fades away. I'm not sure if that's a mic issue or not, but all right. Well, Clem was on for about 30 seconds, and he had a poor internet signal. And Deb looks like she's still trying to call in. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but I guess, man, I'm Nick. For those watching, my name is Nick Snap. I have a podcast called the Make It Snappy Productivity Show, and I like to help people get their time back, especially parents, because here's Clem again, and Deb ducked out. Sorry about that. And Deb's calling in again. All right, we'll get you on here eventually. So yeah, my podcast comes out once a week, every Friday, early Friday morning, and I have a business called Inspire Me Solutions, and where we do productivity strategists. I do time studies for people, and I also do some project management consulting and things like that. So you have a good time, man. They just can't figure out. It doesn't look like they can call in. So I don't know. We'll let them go. So Jeff, this is a subject, man, that there's just certain topics that get me fired up, and tracking productivity and time and stuff like that. This is something I'm really kind of passionate about. They're calling in again. We'll give it one more try here, guys. Hopefully the internet will cooperate.
I can't see where to choose my microphone. You know if you can?
I have a Mac. There she is. Are you on? Hey, Deb. Can you say something? Oh, that's I hear Alvin and the Chipmunks right now, Deb, when you talk. That's a new one. That's interesting. Yeah, absolutely. I wish I wasn't. That's hilarious. Well, that is so weird. Wow. Massage loves it. Oh, man. Look at all the technical issues. I don't know if I can get over that. Completely tripped up right now. So, yeah, when it comes to just tracking time, tracking productivity, the question I want to just start out with is it important to track your time? Is it important to track how you spend your time? And we could take this all different kind of directions.
But. To nerds, it is.
Yeah.
And to me, because we measure stuff. I mean,
sure.
My background is sorted engineering. It's my undergraduate is actually economics, but that doesn't count because I do all tech stuff. And so measuring it is important. I use an app called Hours, and I break all of my time down into either personal, family, business, or household. And
okay, so you're chunking it.
Yeah, every minute of the day, wherever I put my phone, I actually touch on a timer for what I'm doing. So when I'm watching my grandson, that's family time, and then when I do some business stuff like this, it's business time. And then at the end of the day, I at least see how it's broken down in pieces.
Okay. And what's the app called again?
Hours.
Hours. Okay.
Hours, yeah.
Hours. Hey, Deb. I'm afraid that. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. I want you to stay on just for pure like entertainment value. That is. Yeah, you could sing the Christmas song maybe. I don't know. I can hear Nasaja in the other room. She's cracking up. That is hilarious. Wow. Well. I don't know. I hear Nasaja cracking up in the background, like she's through the door. Like she can
all hear her.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Sure, dogs.
Hey, Clem.
Yo, what's up?
Wow. All right, Deb. Thanks for trying. I can't start laughing. That's hilarious. Oh, wow. Well, bye. Wow. Oh, man. Clem, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Do I sound normal?
Yeah, you do. You sound.
No, you got a real deep voice. You're real deep.
Wow. Clem, you want to introduce yourself, man?
Clem Herod, sports videographer, freelance video projectionist, first-time caller.
Philosopher, I think, would be another good way to describe you. As we established here today. Curator. You like the curator thing. You got to start journaling more to be a curator. You haven't passed curator status for me yet, but
you
you'll
don't
get
have
there.
to journal to be a curator.
Okay.
I'm a collector.
There you go.
Hey, looks like Bruce joined. Thanks for joining, Bruce. Feel free to call in. We got one open seat here. All right. So, Clem, we're talking about tracking productivity today, or tracking our time just in general. And the question I posed was, is it important in general to track your time? Track or not the track, as Nasash says here in the chat box. I want to get your feedback on that because I have my personal perceptions on it. I'm really passionate about the subject, so I kind of want to hear what you guys had to say about it.
I mean, I'm not a tracker of my time, but I'm definitely interested in seeing what the possible benefits are.
Yeah, no doubt. So, Jeff, you say you chunk your time up, right, into different blocks.
Well,
family
I
time.
track it. And so, because I tried chunking it. Chunk it, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You're messing with your ears. So
yeah, it's a little muffled. I don't know.
Okay.
Input sound, but yeah.
I don't chunk it anymore. What I do is I actually set a timer as I'm doing something, and then when I have to switch modes, which I can't control, then I change the timer to another one. So I am tracking it. I'm looking at it on a weekly basis, also, not on a daily basis. I don't look at the day.
So you do have a log, though.
Yeah, Hours has a weekly
using
log.
The Hours.
It actually has reporting, and they just went live on the web too, so it's not just an app.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, from a tool perspective, I do track my time as well. I use a time logger 2 to do mine. I think it's real easy to use, and I enjoy using it. But it's why do you guys think it's important to track your time?
So I know what I'm doing.
Okay.
I mean, my business ends up being a side business because my full-time gig is watching a 2-year-old. And so I have to squeeze in work when I can throughout the course of the day. Or like tonight, I had to make everybody's dinner, tell them to stay out of the office, and get this little chunk of time where I can do something. And so what I discovered is I was spending 8 hours a week working, and that was it.
8 hours a week.
That's all I've got in right now.
Okay. And you're squeezing it in then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's just kind of haphazard. And that's wow. So you got the blog, the 3 or 4 different sites that you're talking about doing, all in your spare time as it comes up. So you have a completely different mode of operation than I think the standard person. That is super interesting. And you said you're married to a doctor, right? Is that what you said? Okay.
Gynecologist, so I know all about your whole baby stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Bruce,
deliver anymore.
I'm trying to I've accepted Bruce's call, so what's something going on Blab? I mean, that's why it's beta, right? Can't get these things perfect. No, so you kind of over time, are you seeing patterns in the number of hours you can spend during the week doing certain things, Jeff, or how does that work out?
I'm on a 2-year-old schedule. He's my boss. So some days he's up at 6:30 in the morning and then he's back down at 10 and I get a couple hours there. Other days, like today, he slept till 11:30. And because of the way our house works, he doesn't necessarily go to bed at the same time. We don't do that 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, go to bed.
Okay.
And so the kids go to sleep when they go to sleep. We're on school hours because I've got 2 that I have to take to one to high school and one to middle school.
Right.
So, we're up at 6 o'clock, but I can't say from 6 to 8 a.m. I can do any particular thing. Doing his stuff, or I'm cooking, or I'm running errands, or taking people to doctor's appointments. We have one in the knee brace, post-ACL surgery, so he can't drive anymore. He's my 60-year-old. I added all of that. So it's just, life it happens as it happens. Besides, I'm trying really hard.
Jeff, do you have a Mac or a PC?
I got a Mac.
So go to System Preferences, and then Sound. Is your input set to your internal speaker or your mic, or is it on the headset?
Right now, I've got it on the webcam, I believe.
Okay, and you're not wearing a headset right there? You have any earbuds or anything?
No.
Okay, so it's just. All right, so I think that's because you're far. I guess you're far away from the webcam. That's why it might be coming through exactly.
Now, is this any different? Is it any different when I'm talking right now?
No,
not really. No.
This isn't any different, and that's not any different. You don't even hear this one, do you?
Nah, about the same. Yeah, I mean, we can hear you, but I think it's because your cam is however far away your distance is, or it's picking you up. So
it works on my accountability calls in Skype every week.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know either. I'll try to stay closer and louder.
Yeah, just kiss the camera, I guess. So Natasha's is asking me why I track. That's a question. So there's a lot of different ways I can take this conversation, but I look at, like if you're looking at just tracking your time overall, what is the purpose of tracking your time? And for me, doing the breakdown of my hours spent, like you're saying, Jeff, you have an app and I have an app that I use as well. Taking the look back and figuring out is what I spent my time on, one, what I predicted it to be in the first place, and then two, how I want to be spending my time. Is it adding the most value for my business and everything that I have going on? I mean, when I started tracking my time, it was here's Bruce again. Try it again. Try to get you on again here, Bruce.
Oh, there I am. Okay, good. Now I can hear you.
There you are. Fantastic. Good to see you.
Yeah, great to be here.
Bruce, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, I'm Bruce Langford. I'm a mindfulness coach. I talk with my clients all about how to get focused, get centered, get things done, because some of them are just really frustrated with all the busy stuff going on in their head, and so I just help them get centered.
Jeff dropped off.
He's probably trying to fix his camera, Mike.
Yeah. So, man, when I started tracking my time, I think that we are, as humans, I guess, and Bruce Clemway, as you see fit, but we are just grossly optimistic at our ability to achieve the goals we set out in front of us. And from what I've seen in the studies and in the research and stuff like that, and even in my own personal experience, I'll set out to do a certain task and I'll think that it'll take me an hour, and all of a sudden it'll take me 4.
Oh, that's totally me.
Yeah. And then if you're not mindful about how you're spending your time, looks like Deb's trying again. Uh-oh. Here we go.
There she is. What is that? Why is it like that?
I'm sorry.
I don't know what it is. Don't even try. Don't even try anymore.
All right. All right. Sorry. All right. Let Jeff call back in.
Okay.
Wow, man, this is like just been a very interesting, just distracting. But talk about like how you spend your time, right? Like if we track the flow of the conversation here, we'd be amazed at how the different directions it's going. How completely unproductive we've been. Here's Jeff coming back in. Man, unbelievable. Blab, you gotta tighten it up. There he is.
Well, I will say for me, it's hard for me to track certain activities because I get scattered. So I'll start something and then I'll be in one area working on something and I'll be like, oh, squirrel, let me go start working on this. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I didn't finish this. So let me go back to that. And then I'll work on something else. And then just eventually I get it all done. But I've got 5 different projects going on.
Just like so many of my clients, yes.
And it's like, you have
really
all these.
You just have to really resolve yourself to just really work only on one until it's finished. And sometimes it's really tough, isn't it?
And that's what the retrospective thing is with hours. Are you getting horrible echo?
You sound a lot better than you did before.
Okay. With hours, you can see, Clem, when you're switching back and forth, and they're little color bands. And so I see those, and I'm like, stop, focus on one thing, finish it, focus on the next thing.
Yeah.
Deal with the 2-year-old, come back, that kind of thing.
That's got to be. I can imagine operating in that mode, man, where you got to keep on just switching. So your brain's getting just wired to continue to change back and forth constantly, rather than having the freedom to focus. You're kind of like, I would think you'll be a little bit on pins and needles. It's like, when's the next interruption going to come? Yeah, because you're kind of really into whatever it is you're working on. Wow. Yeah. So I was talking about earlier, like the actual reality of how much I'm spending my time. Like I personally have been off by like factors of 4 and 5 of what like I thought I was spending on certain things and what I actually was. And when I started tracking my time to figure out, and the podcast was a big one for me, Bruce, and I know you're familiar with it. But like when you first got started, I could not believe it was taking me 8 hours some weeks to do this thing. I couldn't believe it. And I was having people editing for me. And so that really got the wheels turning from the perspective of, okay, I'm spending time doing things I shouldn't be doing. And it really got the outsourcing ball rolling for me, like figuring out what can I do to break this stuff down and get it off my plate? Just like an awareness issue. Tracking time for me was very important, because it's like, what is the purpose of what I'm trying to do as a business, financially, and then overall, like why am I in business, and am I doing the tasks that support that purpose? So that's kind of what comes back to me. What do you guys have any feedback?
Do you feel better or worse when you see that? When you see what you tracked?
Obviously the first initial reaction is like, oh, I'm a complete failure. But then if I hadn't tracked it, I would never know where I was at. So then now that I'm tracking and I can look at it and see the progress and spending more time, it's like when I do these time studies for, I'm doing a time study right now for a retainer client of mine. It's like, there's a baseline that you establish, and you're spending, and for they're in the business development, so they're meeting with clients and trying to close contracts and things like that. So there's the short term and the long term kind of relationships, with the clients. And are they just developing relationships, or are they actually working with clients that are committed to making a purchase? So like we're trying to track that kind of data, and establish a baseline. So then once we start improving on the tactics and the way that they're spending their time, then they're going to have the ability to look at the before and the after and see, the time shift from doing these activities that aren't necessarily adding the most value to the company to now, okay, I close more contracts because I'm spending more time on the activities that are really, that really matter. And the same thing is for me being like a solopreneur. Man, if I'm spending more time creating relationships and working with clients versus processing email or doing my show notes for my podcast or whatever it is, then I feel a lot better. So I think you need that initial, to answer your question, Jeff, you need that initial like kick in the gut to get the long-term, benefits from that. So,
but some of it's about just how you feel. When I look at it and I see that things are broken up, then I think to myself, hey, I need to move forward and do this right.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel like crap. But other times I look at it and I'm like, yeah, that worked. That's what I need it to be. And again, I can't control most of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you, so since you've been tracking your time, do you have what's your minimum time that you spend doing something versus the max you spent time doing something in your situation on a day-to-day basis?
It varies so much because again, I'm on a 2-year-old schedule. At night, I can sometimes throw together an hour or 2.
Okay.
That's the longest block that I'm going to get. And it's at night. So, a lot of times I'm tired. Chase a 2-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
And be 54.
I get it.
That's the thing. You're young.
Yeah.
You're first time around here. I'm second time around, man. I'm done my duty.
Yeah, no doubt. It's almost like when you set your goals then, Jeff, are you being reasonable about what you're trying to accomplish, or are you putting a lot in there, or how does that work?
No, I'm like everybody else. I put 20 things on the to-do list or in to-do list and say, hey, I can get this done in an ideal day, as if I ever have an ideal day. I had one this weekend. I was in a volleyball tournament, and my 13-year-old was playing. When she played, I watched her. When she wasn't playing, I was out in the car working. And the weather was good, so I actually got 8 hours of work done. And that's the first time this year.
First full 8-hour day because of volleyball. Wow. It's a unique situation. And Laura just joined. Thanks for joining, Laura.
But it's hard to move forwards when, you don't know how much time you're going to have. You don't know how much someone's going to take. And then like you, I estimate and say, this will take an hour. And 5 hours later, I'm like, squirrel.
Yeah.
Follow Clem's method.
I know for me, I feel more comfortable at work when I know that I'm focused at work. Like I'm not home. I have my schedule set out for me. Somebody else has set the expectations for the day, and they're telling me, okay, we need to have this done by the end of the day. And I can look at the task. I can look at the job overall and say, okay, I can handle that. I can do that. But when I'm home and I've got all those things and I'm trying to manage myself, that's when it becomes a little overwhelming.
Do you use a task manager at home?
I use my calendar.
It's not a task manager. We talked about that last week.
We did talk about last week. Yeah. The list versus calendar discussion. Clem's he's recently embraced this whole idea, so I'm going to give you credit, Clem. I mean, you're getting things done with the calendar, and it's just a matter of it's a debate we had last week. We'll get back into the list versus the calendar, but I guess with and Jeff, I kind of wanted to ask you this question since your schedule is just all over the board. Have you thought about the different things you're doing? Are they consistently the same work, or are you concentrating on trying to concentrate on like one thing at a time and moving forward, or are you doing more than one thing in a given week? I guess from a project perspective, or how you work those out.
I do theming, so I theme my day. And actually, I split my day up into 2 kinds of themes. So I have a business theme and then non-business theme. And so typically my day also ends or changes at 2:30 p.m. because that's when I have to start running and driving kids. And so, the morning is more business stuff, and then late at night is going to be business stuff. And so today was a theme of learning. And so I'm specifically trying to ramp up email systems on Kitchen. So I was working on learning how to do that, doing the giveaway, doing
the landing page and all that kind of stuff, and spending a ton of time on Fizzle. And so that was learning today. Tomorrow's going to be creation day, so I'm going to be doing a lot of writing, and as I can squeeze things in, do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. With your Nastach is asking what are the advantages of tracking time. We could talk about that in a little bit, but I guess with your theming, Jeff, with the inconsistency in what you can do on a given day, you said you're theming your days, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't know whether you're going to be able to spend 4 hours one day on a particular theme, or the next is kind of a crapshoot as to whether you're moving certain needles forward. And then depending on how it all shakes out, your learning and development day could be plentiful, and then moving the other stuff forward could not be.
And that's why one day doesn't get themed, and that's the figure out what I did the rest of the week. So I don't have what's your Tuesday is long, Wednesday's long. Washing Wednesday?
Nastach is in the chat there. Yeah, wash Wednesday and toilet Tuesday.
Yeah, so if my household stuff doesn't get done, then I flip that off to another day, and that's what consumes that unthemed day.
So you have a buffer day to try to figure out.
The life sucks day is what it is.
Oh, man. To answer Nastach's question real quick, what the advantage? I mean, we covered a little bit of that already, but for tracking time, it's just to have for me. And if you're asking me, the importance of establishing a baseline is critical. Like you need to know kind of where you're at so that you can figure out where you're going. That's why I track my time.
So how long do you have
I
to
can
go
constantly improve
before you have your baseline?
Yeah, that's a really good question. When I work with clients, we establish a baseline for 3 weeks. I try to do 3 weeks, just because 2 weeks. In 3 weeks, you kind of have, okay, did I have and this is what I've been doing to try to get started without dragging the process out too long, right? It's like when you trying to think, if you have like a bid, if you're putting out a bid for a project or something, you never want to just have two bids because they can be wildly off. You kind of want to have that third to sort of break the tie. Or to give you a sanity check to see if one's an outlier or not. So I kind of look at that when I do things like this. I think about it in threes. So if you have a big outlier week, you have two others to kind of support whether that was an outlier or not, or maybe they're all three consistent. Laura says, I have to keep track of my time in 6-minute increments at my day job. It is the bane of my existence. And that's just from a billing perspective, right, Laura? That's what your firm's requiring you to bill at. It's after last week. I think it was the day before I met with a lawyer. Actually, I'm working with a lawyer client too, and she was talking about how she gets fined or like a negative fee for not tracking her time on a daily basis. So I guess law firms are pretty hardcore when it comes to that kind of stuff. Yeah. So instead of the advantage is establishing a baseline. Yeah, establishing a baseline is the initial part, but then the advantage for me is knowing that you're improving, continuous improvement. I mean, I'm a Lean Six Sigma guy. Like you always want to be getting better into that optimal state of flow, as probably Bruce would say. Getting that state of flow.
So define improvement for you. You set your baseline now. What means making it better?
If I'm so I am very aware of my the value of my time. So if I have opportunities, an opportunity cost for me. I could be spending my time working with clients at a certain opportunity cost, or I could be spending my time doing work that fulfills me. I volunteer every week, and I spend a certain amount of time doing that. So when I look at my purpose for being in business and just kind of taking that as a step towards my overarching purpose, if I'm spending more time doing the things that are directly related to that, both the financial goals for the family and then the goals for how I want to live my life, the larger percentage of time that I'm spending doing that stuff, over time, then that's the improvement for me. So I look at like, am I consistently improving? And then and I'm not there. So I guess one day, hopefully I'll get to the point where I'm spending, 90% or higher of my time doing the stuff that fulfills me and that's on the highest value of my time. So that's kind of how I look at it, Jeff. Does that answer your question? Oh, I lost audio.
Clem, what would make things better for you? What would be improvement? I mean, if you're looking at time and what would be, oh, there you are. You moved around on me.
Yeah, Bruce jumped off.
You kind of have the same squirrel syndrome that I do. What would be better than what you're doing now?
Oh no, Deb's speaking of squirrels, Deb's calling in now, and hopefully her voice doesn't sound like one. Come on, Deb, let's get this one going here. Sorry. While Clem thinks about that.
How am I doing now?
Oh, yes.
Well, I'm on my phone
great.
now. I'm on my phone. It's fine.
Wow.
I don't see her yet.
It's good to hear your voice,
There
Deb.
she is.
The real voice. I know Nasach and I were just having a little moment on Facebook, and she was telling me how much I was making her laugh, and I said, I'm so glad I'm your entertainment for tonight.
It was quite entertaining. Jeff, you're asking about your audio. I didn't hear you. Can you say something, Jeff?
Yeah.
Not now, but everybody was
Oh, no, you're good.
Lost
okay, cool, you're good.
No. Well, I was actually thinking today, I just got back home last night, and I think instead of trying to put things on my list of things to do on my first day home, I need to use that as just an adjustment day of being back in the family state of mind. Because when I'm gone, I'm more independent as far as my time and just what I choose to do and stuff like that. So when I come home, it's just, I need to take that time to just decompress from being on the road and get back to, just being the father, being the husband. Even I'm those things on the road, but it's just a different state of mind when you're at home. So I think I need to do that instead of trying to jump right into knocking out my list. I think that would help me to be in the right state of mind come day two.
I mean, it's kind of like why people like their car ride home between work and home. Only you're doing it at home. But you kind of do need that. I mean, yeah. Because otherwise you're just, I don't know. I hear that complaint a lot of times from people that, you're just people. I think men and women at this point, we just, if you're really into what you do and you love it, it's kind of hard to turn it off. If you already love your work.
It is.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, right. I love our work. I love the people I'm with. I love the environments and the nice hotels and all that type of stuff, and being able to expense the meals and all that. But then it's like when I come back home, it's just it's different. It's completely different.
They have to be appreciated, right? Because you're the one that gets to go off, and they're at home, like, doing the ordinary things that have to be done to allow you to be able to do that. So it's like it's a mutual respect thing with that piece of the productivity. That it's good that you're recognizing that before you ramp up the productivity piece, because there's always room for that. You can't redo it when you make a mistake around your family. You kind of like, if you screw that up a little bit, you might end up being a whole lot less productive, because it takes you another whole day to unscramble the mess you just made, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. It's almost like a mindfulness sort of thing.
Kind of like it's as Bruce would say, it's this state of mindfulness that you're always being ready for an opportunity to do it even better than you're already doing it, and you're not closing your mind down to that while you're doing the very productive things that you're doing. And that's super tricky.
Yeah, it is. What do you guys think about if you work in corporate America? And I guess I'm not sure if anyway, Deb, you have in the past, and you have too, Jeff.
Yeah, I did 10 years.
Okay. I mean, if there's any employees watching, one of the things that really people get tripped up on is if they're tracking their time, or if, say, their boss is making them track their time or whatever. There's the forced time tracking, and then there's like the I'm tracking my time to get better sort of thing. And how as an employee who's just trying to do better, how do they track their time without having to worry about their boss using it as an argument to make them, either work more hours or give them justification for not, compensating them appropriately and that kind of thing, rather than just hiding it? Because I think there's a lot of people out there, at least in my experience, that they just sort of collect the paycheck and move on. But there's others who are working legitimately and adding value, maybe not necessarily, being productive the entire day, So how do you reconcile that if you're an employee?
Well, some of it has to do with how you present it. Because, a lot of companies don't look at education or learning as being productive. But if you're moving forwards and you're improving your output, then that is valuable time. But you don't have to put it down as, sitting through webinar.
Yeah. Definitely how you present it. I think that the performance-wise, I think there's a couple different things. If you're working in a big corporation, a lot of these corporations are a little bit lazy about even putting in the work to know how their employees are spending time, or even setting up metrics for performance. I think as entrepreneurs, our performance metrics are pretty easy. I mean, it's the bottom line. Like, are you bringing in the financial goals you need, and are you doing work that fulfills me? For me, those are my two. But I mean, if just bare bones, like, are you bringing in are you meeting your financial goals as an entrepreneur? Are you being able to pay the bills and then support your family and move to the situation you want to be financially? But as an employee, it's not always obvious, There's
different kinds of work. And so, stuff that's being done in the front office is different than being done in the plant. And so, if you're making widgets, that's easy to measure. And it's easy to measure how accurate the widgets are being made. But if you're doing invoicing or you're doing, accounts payable, what's good performance on paying bills?
Well, I mean, where I come down on that is that for the audience would be to say, hey, let's think about what's in it for me to do this tracking for myself. I mean, because in my opinion, of course, I worked in professional services, so we really did track time like Laura does, by the increments. We did it by 10 minutes, but she has to do it.
6 is the number.
She's like a third faster than I am, having to do a third more timing than I have to do. But anyway, no, but because, an organization can be much more productive if all the people in it are relatively happy, and those jobs have to get done. So someone has to be there to do them. So why not let's look at ways to help people improve their productivity for themselves, not just the organization. Because so it may be, if I were a corporation, what I'd be doing? I'd be like having people set up accountability groups outside of the company on company time and saying, I want you to work with somebody who maybe you don't even know, or it could be a friend, however you could make it work. That's what I think would be cool, because this accountability thing is really good. It really works. You and I know that, Nick, because we just did the whole coaching. So, and so you could get that done. You could get that accomplished by getting people who are sort of like a neighbor to neighbor thing, like one person helping another, and there's no money involved in it. So it's not like the company has to come out of pocket for it, but it would help people really appreciate their importance in their jobs, because maybe a lot of people are feeling a little like, well, all I do is pay bills all day. Well, guess what? That has to get done. And being an accountant, I have a lot of respect for that job, because it's easy to make mistakes and it's easy to hate it. And so I think you have to introduce other outside of the box ways of thinking about what that productivity looks like, and how you can make people want to be productive for their own sense of well-being, not just the good of the firm.
And what would that accountability look like, though? Would that be the accountability for people doing their jobs, or the accountability for like a higher level?
Doing their jobs. Okay. I mean, but it might not look like, I was able to pay 20 checks in a month in an hour versus last week I was only able to do 10 or 15.
Yeah.
It would be more like, getting to know another person, and you each have your job descriptions and you talk about the challenges and the good and the bad of it and how can it get better. And because whenever you get input from somebody who doesn't really do what you do, they'll come up with a gazillion great ideas. We all look really smart when we're helping other people, don't we? Sure.
Yeah. I think that, how I would run a business, I guess if it was up to me and I had a big corporation and a team under me, like I'd really encourage employees to hold each other accountable for being engaged in their job. I mean, to like, not even being engaged in their job, but being engaged overall. Like, are they excited to go to work? What's not right? And how do you work together to change your mindset about how you think about your job? And then, are you engaged overall with where you want to go with your career? Like, it doesn't have to be necessarily you're getting more work done, but just like what's your attitude like, and holding each other accountable that way, and encouraging people to go out and pursue their dreams and their different goals, whether it's inside the department or outside or in a different company. Like if there were more companies that would encourage employees to seek work that they really truly enjoy, they'd probably be employees for a long time, or seek other ways to get that fulfillment, because it's not all about vocation. I think I'm trying to think where we recently talked about that. It was in my interview. It's coming up this week, actually. It's going to drop on Friday with Tom Wolfe. We talked about, this whole purpose concept of purpose. Like, it's not all about your vocation. Everybody gets kind of mixed around the axles, sometimes. It's like, it's not always your vocation. Sometimes it's just your vocation is the ability to go out and do the things you want to do. So are your employees doing the things that they want to do in life, or are they just stuck in a job? Like, how do you get people to create accountability for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and you know what, Nick, if you think about it, like think about how companies go about like having baseball games or company picnics or whatever, and that's to create a sense of community. But there's a lot of different ways to create community that can actually revolve around the work itself. So the people are literally, helping each other do their jobs. And without it being, and it can be very private in the sense that nobody's recording it. Nobody has to report to anybody. You make the space available because it matters to people. And that's another way you can buy people's love or get people's love, is that when they know that it matters how they're doing at their job, because you want them to do better, and in terms of what a company would actually do to do that is they would go out and find somebody that could teach the group of that they want to be doing this. Let's just say you decide you're going to try it out with a department of 10 people. You bring somebody in and you have them talk about what it means to coach another person. In 12-step work, we call it fellow travelers, and we're supposed to sponsor each other. Same idea, really. It's somebody who you can talk to in confidence, and you're going to be in the same space that you're both trying to do better at whatever you do. And you don't have to, you actually can set up rules. You could say, the way you're going to do this is you're going to do it for a half an hour every week on a Friday and just catch up with each other. The first 5 minutes should be just getting to know each other. The next, on each part, kind of like we did at Podfest, the round table. I thought that was very effective. To have time shares, then everybody shares.
Yeah, the trust thing. I think that's one thing that a lot of times is lacking in corporate America is a trust thing, especially when it comes to management. Nasash made a good point there as far as being a full-time employee, wanting to track her time to see if she's got capacity to take on other duties. So I think that's a culture mindset thing when it comes to corporate America. Like if one of your employees wants to do a job duty that's completely outside their job description, like, why the hell wouldn't you want them to do that? Why wouldn't you make that available to them? Because one is going to increase their engagement. They're probably going to learn something that's going to help them in their current job. And a lot of companies are very short-sighted when it comes to that sort of thing. So, says she wants to get a sense that they're at capacity and need data to justify hiring other staff. Oh, who's that little guy? Is that the 2-year-old?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. So yeah, I think when you're, man,
Bubba.
Hi.
That's Papa.
Hi. What's their name?
This is Tristan.
Tristan.
Yep. He can't hear you very well because I've got headset on.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, say bye-bye. Bye.
But yeah, I think it just from an overall perspective, if you, and this is an engineer talking, but also a manager talking who had employees and I think I was able to kind of justify a lot of things. I justified it moving forward with what potentially could be a $250 million project on kind of an idea that I had. And the reason you can justify these sort of things and even like justifying hiring people, justifying getting involved in different activities is data. Like, and I think it's the one thing that my engineering degree has done for me is giving me the discipline to back my decisions with data. Now, certainly Bruce is on now, and there's a certain mindfulness and intuition you have with making decisions about people, and that sort of thing is very important. And I'm learning to trust my gut. But when it comes to convincing people to do things that are a mutual benefit, you can't argue with data. You just can't.
But you can lie with the data too. You can take the data, when we try to measure things and say, okay, this is how I'm using my time.
Yeah.
And this is how I can improve using my time.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Then when you go a layer further and you say, here are my employees, are they using their time? And, in Nasasha's case, they're all overworked.
Right.
So we need more employees. But if you take that data to people who aren't doing the actual managing, they're going to say, oh, maybe they're really not too busy. Maybe you can get 20% more.
Yeah.
Our engineering mindset says, an hour is an hour is an hour,
yeah.
But it's not.
I have some perspective on that if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
I think that if you're going to create a system to collect data to justify something, then the system needs to be set up as such to where you're getting the buy-in up front from the people that you're going to be presenting it to. So before you go through all the hassle of collecting the data and creating the reports and all that kind of stuff, you present it in such a way that, okay, this is how I'm planning to collect the data. Do you agree with it? What do you see is wrong with it? What are the flaws? What are the other opportunities that you want to set up to make it right? I mean, I can think of just data collection in general. Like I used to work with the railroad. I was in supply chain for a few years, and I used to work with the railroad, and they lied all the time. They're a union organization, and like we didn't know if the trains were showing up or what the deal was out there. So we had to set up systems that we could all trust. We had to set up systems that collectively we trusted that people were telling the truth. So when you collected the data and stuff like that. So like I think it's a project management type thing, like getting your stakeholders involved early and up front and agreeing on the systems you put together was highly beneficial for on the back end selling the results of the data. So.
Mm-hmm.
The railroad does, they're not all liars or anything like that, but there were some particular people that were, testing the system to the best of their ability. So we had to figure out ways around that. So,
well, and when something doesn't get delivered, it's obvious that didn't happen.
Right.
But it depends on what you measure and who's pointing fingers at whom. And that's a lot of times where we see in larger corporations, management versus employees, union or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And it comes, I think when you have this management versus employee thing, and it comes back to the trust issue. But anything, hopefully there's some Lean Six Sigma guys out there. I put the fact to be on Blab and the Lean Six Sigma group, but if anybody from that's an expert in Lean Six Sigma wants to call in or weigh in, here's Bruce coming back.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking too is if I were introducing this into a big company, I would be getting the human resource department
Bruce
involved in this, helping with the bridging of the gap of management and employees with the productivity piece, because it needs to be a little bit objective as it can be, considering it's a subjective thing, like we were talking about with just the fact that people are afraid that they could lose their jobs and things like that. I know that's a very real thing in this world. It'd just be nice to see more people be braver about it. As far as these things could really improve productivity in ways. I know you would agree with me, Bruce, on this. It sounds so woo-woo, all this stuff, but honest to God, it really does work.
Yeah, it does.
It's like acupuncture works, and I don't even care if it's a placebo effect. Who cares if it's a placebo effect, as long as it works?
Yeah.
If people just believe it works, then it'll work. That makes you more productive in your company. That's a productivity thing.
Yeah.
Now, you can't back it up with data necessarily, but Nick, what you can do is you can get together lots of information from different sources, from people who are doing really great work out there in the neurology fields and in the psychology fields and stuff, that will talk about how much people do better when they feel connected and not isolated in what they're doing. That's in their personal life or whether it's at work. Because again,
God willing, that's the future.
You have that reality of how,
It's a guy willing. That's the future of where businesses are going. I mean, to start paying attention to the engagement at a higher level and getting rid of that old school mentality.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Bruce. I would love to hear what you have to say about all of this.
Yeah, I was just going to say that this whole piece of trust. It's all combined with the trust and the fear, and we've already talked about fear, and there's so much fear out there. Fear of losing the job, fear that somebody's gonna try to undermine what you're doing, these kinds of things. So it's so important to really have that connection and that rapport with your employees, and that they have it with each other, because people feel more and more isolated out there than ever, and they just feel threatened. And so if you can provide that environment where they don't feel threatened, where they feel secure, they feel confident, then you can really up your productivity, because you're helping your employees to just feel better about the space they're in. That's easier said than done, but it's something that a lot of firms are working really hard on and achieving success with it too. So it is something that we can do, certainly through mindfulness, but also just through what you already talked about, having different kinds of activities and stuff that your employees really like and really want to do, and get them engaged, other than trying to force them into something that they don't want to do, because that's the thing that really doesn't work. And so many have tried it. And I mean, even when I was an employee, I certainly saw that, okay, now we're going to do this. Now we're going to do that. Now we're doing this new thing. And everybody's just shaking their heads thinking, oh, not another thing, and I mean, the intention is good, but by the time it gets down to the employee level, a lot of times it just doesn't achieve what they're trying to do. And, because you, more than anything, you want your employees to be happy and relaxed and comfortable and feel really good and secure in that environment. So it's not easy to do it, but it's manageable.
Could I share a thought on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bruce, when it comes to the trust and the employees. So I think when I started working for this retained client and working with the relationship managers, so the whole thing was, let's track our time to make sure that we're spending it on the highest value activities, and understand the decisions that you guys are making and the results that we're getting. Right. I didn't create the system until I was sitting down with each one and explaining the why. I think the thing that gets lost when you do these sort of things is that, like you said, Laura, in the chat, like, it's just one more thing that you need to do, and you don't. It's just something you got to do when it's a burden. But if companies are going to make employees do something, employees need to know the why and how it benefits long term, even if they don't necessarily agree with it. They're so much more likely to do it if they understand where it's all coming from. And then there's the level of trust there too. If they trust where it's coming from, that your management are telling you the right thing. But when I rolled out this program for the business development people and the client that I'm working with, I gave a presentation like, this is what I'm thinking of. It was based off of Eric Ries's book, The Lean Startup. I said, this company that I'm working with is a startup. I said, you guys have such an awesome opportunity to get your systems and processes set up correct now while you're young and new and then in your first year. So this is the startup mentality. These are the different metrics we can potentially take. And these are why I think they're important. What do you guys think? What do you want to measure? What do you think is going to add value? Because if you guys don't think that what we're measuring adds value, then I don't want to do it. Like I want to help you guys. I'm here to help you guys. And when you frame it in that way, like it's so much easier. Because for me, it's true. Like I don't want to collect data for the sake of collecting data. Like if it's not going to help people, just a check the box thing. So I'm checking in with these people. I'm saying, look, this is what we collected. Which one of these fields doesn't mean anything to you? What do we need to kill? And what do we need to continue? What's helpful? And but it's more work. And companies kind of get lazy about it. Like they don't want to put in the work to actually follow up with how these things are going, or even worst case, even look at the data. Like maybe they're collecting data to satisfy, some upper management or board of directors or something, and they're not even looking at the results. Like that's the worst situation. So I don't know. Any feedback on that?
I think we saw that a lot of times. I mean, I worked in a manufacturing firm in the 80s, and we were collecting data, and no one knew why. I mean, we started asking questions up and up and up, and at some point, somebody had, and it wasn't being used anymore. And I mean, we're talking about along the lines of Laura. Every 6 minutes we were recording what we were doing. Nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares. And techbloke.com says, collecting data points us to bottlenecks. And that's really what we want to do. And if people are, this is the thing I get really, really frustrated about in corporate America is like if people are hoarding knowledge or data for job security, then those are the people we just got to screen out. Because if people are brave enough, like you said, Deb, to exploit the obvious waste in their own personal jobs, if they're brave enough to do that and tell people and actually build a case to, God forbid, get rid of their job, combine different roles. The job isn't needed. That's the kind of person that you want to keep on board and on staff that's willing to do that because they're in it for the better of the company, right?
Right. That's exactly right. So they don't ever really have to lose their job because if they're smart enough to see it's always better to be efficient, then you're going to find another place for them.
Yeah. You want those people. Why would you worry? Why would you want to hoard?
If you can encourage them to come to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully the mindset's changing, Bruce. I mean, you seem like you got your finger on the pulse a little bit more about the mindfulness of different organizations, but what do you think? Is that, are you seeing more of that?
In a new world, it's going to be necessary.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because times are changing and things are moving so quick. There's no time for these big, heavy overhead burdens.
Yeah, I think employees are demanding more transparency. I mean, the whole world is. Mm-hmm. The whole world is. And it used to be that employers could get away with some of this stuff where they were just going through the motions. They were trying to make it look like they really cared. They were following the guidebook. Yeah. But now that doesn't work anymore. And they're realizing, no, we really have to dig in and figure out how to really get the message across to our employees that we care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 They used to give you a pocket watch when you passed a certain amount of time and you got a pension. Yes. But since since those things are no longer being offered, then it has to be something else that fits in with the way the world works today. And then the brave companies, the forward-leaning thinking companies are going to be the ones that are going to do the best. They're going to get the best people.
You're right.
Yeah.
People are figuring it out. I think millennials are smart.
Yeah. I think you're right. And I think the other thing is getting harder to hide now because the technology is so good. It's just, and I guess I think it's a good thing. I mean, it's if people are trying to hide behind a job and just collect the paycheck, then they need to go find a job that they're really passionate about and that they're going to care what the data says. That's right. Well, guys, I want to be mindful of the time it is. Yeah, it is 10 o'clock. I want to be mindful of everybody's time. So this has been going on for an hour. Does anybody have any closing remarks on tracking time?
Nope, we leave that to you.
Leave it all to me, okay? Well,
you do it, Nick. Yeah, come on. It's your show, baby.
It's my show. Yeah. So I think the thing that I've kind of gotten out of this this conversation is that there's more of a component than just sheer tracking time. There's the trust component. And if you're going to be part of an organization where you track your time, the first thing you need to do is establish trust with the people that you're tracking your time. If you're a solopreneur and you're tracking time on your own, then you're doing it for yourself. So it's almost like you're fulfilling your own commitment, right? Like that's how I kind of look at it. Like if I'm not tracking my time, then I know that I'm not being my best self for my business. So I think that from like a sheer, if you just look at like the definition of productivity, which is different across the board for everybody. I posed a question, I think when I first put this thing out, if somebody says they've increased their productivity 200%, it's like, okay, well, where's the data? Like, how do you know you've increased your productivity? Now, I can say with confidence whether I've increased my effectiveness, because at the end of the day, I'm meeting my financial goals and I'm spending more time doing the things that I want. But like from a productivity perspective, okay, you could be doing things, and this depends on how you define productivity. You can be doing things more efficiently, but you can be doing all the wrong things. So I think it comes down to, are you even working on the right things? And for me, it comes back to purpose. That's like my whole show. Like, it's productivity with purpose. So those are the closing remarks that I have. But hey guys,
yeah, great. Well, thanks for inviting me back on. It's really great to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I had a blast. And everybody that's watching, we're on every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. New topic, productivity topic every week. And Jeff is usually on, Deb's on, and Bruce, you've been consistent now for a few weeks. So Jeff, it's good to see your face, and have you call in. Thank you so much for battling through the tech. We battled through a lot of tech here today, from Alvin and the Chipmunks to Jeff's audio to Bruce not being able to call in. It was a good challenge. So Laura, thanks for coming on. Nisach and Clem and Tech Bloke. What's your name, Tech Bloke? I'm not sure I got your first name though, but thanks for joining. Amanda just joined on. Sorry, we're hopping off here. Jessica, thanks for joining. But next week, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be on, and I'll get the topic. My Twitter handle is thesnappyshow. If you want to get engaged and understand, if you have any suggestions for the topic of next week, please, I'm open to ideas. So
great.
All right, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
have a great
guys.
night.
Thanks.
All right, we'll see you.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.